live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Did he literally freeze as soon as we started?
Back and better than ever. Welcome to Sleepless with Steve.
He's literally sleeping.
I ain't Steve, but this is one of these directions is Joe, and you've got Steve there.
There we go.
Hey,
Is he here? Okay, there we go. God bless the internet.
Yeah, really. I just decided to lag right at the start of the show. I just decided to lag a big lag, but
Yeah.
back and better than ever. Hopefully it stabilizes. This is Sleepless with Steve. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening. Thanks, Dom, for the little bit of an awkward intro there. Apologies for that. But we're back, and I hope I stabilize a little bit here because we got a great show in store today. Looking forward to this one for a while. We're talking Sound of Metal, the Oscar-nominated film, which I saw a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't wait for you guys to watch. I was a little earlier than you guys on this one. Like Minari, this is one of those ones where I'm like, I cannot wait to discuss this, and it's going to be a good show today. But yeah, we got a lot of topics today. Bill Maher had some words on the Oscars. Hope you guys got to see that monologue because we're going to be making that the topic of the first part of the show, at least, and then going into crazy asinine project. Wait to discuss. Moreover, Dom, how are you?
I'm doing well while Steve gets a little laggy again. I am doing quite well. Some last minute drama with my computer, but it seems I have now passed it on to Steve, so that's my fault, if anything. But yeah, doing all right. I got my first vaccine. Pfizer. I'm a Pfizer kid. Welcome to the Pfizer Club. Pfizer zone right here in this box as Steve comes back eventually. But I got it in an abandoned Toys R Us and distributed by the Illinois Air National Guard. So that was an interesting experience. I don't know if Joe, you've gotten it either at a I got it at a mass vaccination site, which is what I'm saying, or if you got it, or have you gotten a vaccine yet?
Yeah, I've gotten it. I only got one dose so far, though. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my second one, which will be next week.
Same here.
There we go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to that abandoned Toys R Us. It was so funny. I was like, oh shoot, it's a mall. I thought it was at the Joliet. I forget which mall there, but it was in Joliet, and I went to the mall. It's like, oh geez, I got here 15 minutes early, but I've never been to this mall before. And if it's anything like an Illinois mall, they all look the same. So it's like, where do I go? But thankfully, I looked to my left and I saw like a vaccination site sign. So okay, that's probably where it is. I went inside and it was this big one giant room. And I saw on the side, it's like, what was this place before? I was like, a warehouse? No, this was I saw R Zone, the R Zone, like with the iconic reversed R. I was like, okay, this is an abandoned Toys R Us. And I'm about to get my first Pfizer shot from the Illinois Air National Guard.
Did Jeffrey the
And
Draft give you your shot too? Like, did he come out and he's like, hey?
Yeah, pretty, might as well. But it was kind of surreal. It was really fast, painless. Only side effect was a little bit of arm stiffness, like a couple days after. Really, it was awesome. So shout out, I guess, to the Illinois Air National Guard for getting me in and out of there in less than 30 minutes. Half of it was just going through the rigmarole. The other half was just waiting, observation for 15 minutes, and nothing happened. I'm really disappointed. I thought the 6G internet was gonna restart. I think I had to take a nap first, and then my modem restarted.
There you go, yeah.
But yeah, after that it was all good. So second one at the exact same place. We'll see what's playing on. I heard some Maroon 5 playing overhead, or at least I assumed it was Maroon 5. It was Super Milquetoast, so I was like, it's probably Maroon 5. So we will see what happens in about 3 weeks. But yeah, good times. Joe, how are you?
I'm good. I did not have a adventurous time like you did this past week or even this week. So I'll just keep it to this. I just had a very easygoing weekend. I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, and for a show that I thought was going to be It'll probably be like a standard Marvel thing. It's gotten better and better each week, and I'm just like, damn,
Dude.
okay. This show shut me up real quick. Yeah, that's basically it. Just working, getting by, and we'll see how next week goes when I get my second dose of 5G, 6G, whatever it may be.
For sure. Well, Steve is doing okay, as you can tell. He's very
best
stoic
of
tonight.
luck to you. Best of luck to you in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what the issue is over here on my end. It's pissing me off, whatever the issue is, but I'm doing my best to make it through. You guys might have to carry it if I drop out again, but fingers crossed. We'll start. Glad you got your shot though, Dom. I read your whole blog. I read your whole post about the Maroon 5 song playing, so that had to be charming. There was no musical ambiance in my in my clinic that I went to, so
probably would have been better. Enjoy the ambiance, the once in a lifetime ambiance of this dystopian hellscape that this very blasé, very, very seemingly normal hellscape that we're in. But yes, I think we have to move on to.
I would have opted David Cook time of my life.
There we go. Steve, you're going to be coming in and out. We're gonna try and give you as much time as possible to recover, but I don't know. I think it's been pretty sporadic every 30 seconds or so. Joe,
yeah.
What do you think?
Every 30 seconds, like you disappear and then you'll come back, and like it turns out
you've been all the movies.
I know, right? The one that we can't
could
hear.
Have been
Steve.
Shin Godzilla, where it's like, okay, Joe and I will nerd out about Godzilla again for like an hour, as opposed to like an Oscar-nominated performance.
Hey man, I'll nerd out about drumming. So like, even though it's like a small fraction of this movie, which I didn't know about, but we'll get to that later.
Steve, lead us in for as much as he can there.
I'll do my best. Sorry, guys. But Bill Maher kind of gifted us a little bit of a topic this weekend. I don't know if you guys got to catch this early, because I watch real time every now and then, but every once in a while, one of his monologues will circulate on Twitter and make the rounds, and that's how you know it's getting some coverage or some talking points. But Bill Maher made headlines over the weekend with his closing monologue on Real Time that addressed the Oscars, on which he opined the Oscars should be called the Debbies, giving the Best Picture nominees are all fairly upsetting films. Now, it's true, there is a weight to all these nominees. I've seen all of them. And it's not the most uplifting slate of movies. And before you say of all the years where they could have made these movies so downtrodden, you got to think they didn't foresee a pandemic. They didn't foresee a pandemic year, if nothing else. But to bill them all as depressing, I think cruelly misses the point of many of these movies. I think the bigger issue is the fact that we've gone from griping about the Oscars not being diverse enough to the Oscars not being happy enough. We got to find something to be. We have to find something to.
I will tack on to one argument. I will not tag on to Bill Maher's here. So sorry. Keep going.
Yes. Fittingly, the clip that went viral on Twitter, which is where people go to bitch and moan about problems while offering no solutions. So I guess that was only reasonably fitting that it went viral on Twitter. But maybe it's the fact that these films came out during one of the darkest times in the world, so we noticed it more. But not all the nominees are seriously depressing, and I had to laugh at the closing kind of compilation of classic Hollywood movies.
Wait till we get there.
Such uplifting movies like Gladiator and Schindler's List
and 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah, like the Oscars have always been drama-centric, maybe to a fault. I would even say to a fault. The year where you could have highlighted escapism, it might have been better. But I also think, too, I will say he does tap into a couple things, because I do think this is a noticeably downtrodden year for the Best Picture nominations, not in terms of quality, but in terms of just general plot. And just general themes. It's not a very uplifting slate of movies. So I kind of agree on that. And I think number two, though, I think you can't deny the lack of fanfare for the Best Picture nominations this year. There really hasn't been a ton of buzz. And maybe it's the lack of theater going on the last year. Maybe it's the fact that all these nominations are on different streaming platforms, so not everybody's totally sure where you can find these movies. Maybe that's it, even though you think, ironically, the ease of access would make them more topical. But I think that there is grounds to consider that might be the case. Dominic, what say you about Bill Maher's rant?
Well, look, out of all the late night hosts, I think Bill Maher is objectively the worst. Like, just on the level of smarminess, and so I'm not talking about like Fox News or MSNBC. I'm talking about like late night hosts, right? And I cannot stand. Okay, obviously, objectively, I was joking, but like I cannot stand Bill Maher, and I'm a pretty left leaning guy, potentially more than Bill Maher. But he's just like how he delivers things is truly the worst. And it's like, dude, you're making all the arguments you're making for the left-leaning and occasionally progressive causes worse by talking about him in this way. I've never really been able to stand him as a comedian either, just on that. I don't know. There's something really off-putting about it. Not in a way that John Oliver might be, not in a way that, you know, Seth Meyers, and a lot of people really hate Seth Meyers, and I get it to a degree. But anyway, just that on that level, it kind of irks me. But overall, yeah, dude, like this could not be more of like an old man yells at art he doesn't understand, or like
just art he doesn't even see anymore too. Like it feels like a very much
like
an outsider's view of like what the best pictures are this year, or how Hollywood's been like the past 10 years.
Like, this is such a Karen take. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, I get it. It could be argued that this specific slate of Best Pictures happens to trend maybe a little bit more depressing, right? And then it also on top of a particularly nasty year. But it's like, dude, overall, this is yeah, Steve mentioned it earlier. Like, you're really going to admonish how we went from Oscars so white to now Oscars so sad. Like, what kind of dumbass take is this? Like, Judas and the Black Messiah, that is like radical, dude. Like, the fact that a mainstream studio bankrolled the story of Fred Hampton, and it was a good movie, and now it's nominated for Best Picture. Like, dude, that is like you should be happy about that. But he's out of all the late night hosts, he's just irks me the most, and he feels like the griftiest out of them all. I haven't really watched too much of him, but just because I can't stand him. But he just gives me those bad vibes. But like, I mean, Trial of Chicago 7, that's a fast-paced movie, dude. Yeah, it's Sorkin. So like, I don't know. I can go through all of these, but Joe, please stop before I go old man yells at old man, please.
Bill Maher, like, he's a guy that I watch from time to time. I don't necessarily hate the guy, and like, I like most of his stuff. I actually kind of like. I do like watching his show late at night on HBO Max, or when I had HBO Now.
I agree with his points of view off him.
No, yeah, and even this, I see where he's coming from, but this is like judging a book by its cover. Basically, is the way I'm looking at this. It's like he didn't watch any of these movies, and he just went, well, what's this movie about? Oh, a woman got raped and was murdered. It's like, that's not the premise of Promising Woman. Like, yeah, a woman got raped, but she didn't get murdered. She committed suicide. And, like, there's a whole different thing. Like, you're acting like that's the main character. Also, you spoiled the movie, asshole. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, also, like, out of all the movies that you could admonish for being, like, super depressing, like for the topics that Promising Young Woman had, like really weighty topics, it was actually really kind of fun to watch in a kind of like a revenge way. Yeah, you know, and like I love that toxic scene with the Britney Spears toxic. Like, holy shit, this is awesome. And like, dude, yeah, again, you didn't watch the movie.
It feels like he saw Nomadland and went like, I guess every movie this year is gonna be like this, because it's like that's how he just judged all the nominations after he talked about Nomadland. So, like, real quick, I actually wrote down, he goes through a list of movies. He's like, why can't Hollywood make movies like this anymore? And it's almost like, dude, are you not realizing what I'm saying? Full Metal Jacket, the horrors of the Vietnam War that it did to people and that country. 12 Years a Slave. Do I really need to talk about, like, how depressing that movie is? Do the Right Thing. Oh, yeah, a movie where a black guy gets murdered by the police at the end of the movie because he can't breathe. That's not topical or relevant to the lives that we're living today. Schindler's List, Nazis and Jews, like, come on.
And it's not Jojo Rabbit.
And I'm gonna get to Jojo Rabbit in just a second. He also just overlooks a lot of the movies that came out this year that I feel like a ton of people were talking about. Specifically, 3 movies that all ended up on our best of list in some sort of way. Palm Springs was one of the movies I talked to so many people about, and they were loving it on Hulu. Soul on Disney Plus. It's an animated family feature. It was so heartwarming to receive that at the end of the year. It was perfect for a Christmas time movie. And then finally, the movie that got nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Actress, Borat's subsequent movie film. It's a Borat sequel, man. I wasn't depressed while watching that. And then my final thing is, and I'll throw it back to either Dom or Steve, he also goes on to say, oh, it's been like this for a long time. Well, I went back to the 2020 nominations for the year of 2019. These are the movies that got nominated for Best Picture, or even Best Directing, Best Adaptation, Best Original, or Best Animated. We have Ford versus Ferrari. That is not a depressing movie. That is a very entertaining, energetic sports film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is a very fun movie. Watching Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt just hang out and then end up killing the Mason people at the end of the movie. Wasn't depressed while watching that. Jojo Rabbit, literally one of the best comedies I saw last year, probably the best comedy, and it's
could not be the more inverse of Schindler's List.
Yeah, and it's about
with the same topic
who wants to be a Nazi soldier in Germany. Yeah, and it's really funny and heartwarming somehow. 1917, a grand adventurous action film. Toy Story 4, an amazing animated film, along with How to Train Your Dragon 3 and Claws, and then finally Best Original Screenplay. One of the most fun times I had in the theater with an ensemble cast, Knives Out. People ate that up Thanksgiving weekend. It's this dude, I don't know when the last time you've been to the movies is. It's just the way he's talking about it, it's let me just hammer on this point for just this year and make it sound oh, it's always been like this, except back when I went to the movies, when it's well, you put on 12 Years a Slave, homie, and that came out in 2012. That's not that long ago. Anyway, Steve, go on.
Yeah, and I was just going to list a bunch of movies. You took a lot of them, actually. There was a lot of escapist fare this year. King of Staten Island, Eurovision, A Secret Love, even the Netflix documentary. Yes, God, Yes. You had Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh, my God, yeah.
You had Happiest Season. You had even Unpregnant. I know we had mixed opinions on it, but that's kind of talk about taking a heavy topic.
Compared to the one that you
Talk
watched.
about a heavy Talk about a heavy topic with a feel-good sentiment or a feel-good kind of ambiance to it. So there's absolutely that. And the Oscars, and this is a whole other issue, the Oscars have been historically, I would say, I'm trying to figure out the right word here. I promise I'm not, or at least in this case, I'm not lagging. They've been historically inept in honoring comedy. That's been the Oscars' problem for many years, but they've always been drama centric. And Joe, even going back last year, you didn't have these weighty, dense dramas and such. Now, like I said, Sound of Metal isn't the most uplifting movie on the planet. We'll talk about it soon. The Father, I cried like a fiend to The Father. That's a heavy one. But you didn't have those. You didn't have you did not have as downtrodden affairs I think Bill Maher makes it out to be.
And it just feels like he scanned the Best Picture list and then was just all movies suck this year, like the old man that he's, I don't know, but dude, do you not even know the concept of Oscar? I forget if he mentions Oscar bait in the video, but do you not even know the concept of the joke about Oscar bait, which is we
call Trial of Chicago 7 that. We said it was a very Oscar baity film, a good one, but very Oscar baity.
Yeah, Oscar bait is something that I both I recognize is a legit thing, but also I kind of don't like that term to a degree as well. And it's but the fact that he doesn't even get that, where it's yeah, dude, no wonder the heaviest and most drama and actor showcases are the Best Picture. Yeah, that's what they are, dude. Calm down. You got plenty of. You're gonna get your Fast and Furious this year. You're gonna get your whatever explosions. And yes, he cites that Kong versus Godzilla is the best. It has performed the best so far this year.
But then
I
he even
believe,
says
right?
I don't want that, and it's just well, what do you want, Bill?
What do you want?
You don't want
It's like,
monkey
at
fighting
this-
lizard, like, but you don't want also No Man Land. Like, okay, you gotta meet me in the middle here, Holmes. What's going on?
Yeah. Like at this rate, do you want people to not watch late night talk show hosts because that's what they're gonna do because it's being really unrelatable right now, and that's what's my issue with specifically with Bill Maher. You know, like Colbert, Jimmy Fallon's, whatever they got their own thing going, but like specifically him, it's just, and I know I'm probably Bill Maher stands are gonna come already typing in the comments or whatever, but it's like I don't know, just something about him specifically, and is it like just like, oh, he tells it how he is, but then it's like super unrelatable. I don't know. I should stop with the ad hominems, but it's kind of one in one with the fact that it's old man yells at crowd.
I'll say this. I loved Bill Maher, and then Trump got elected president. That's when I started falling out of love with Bill Maher.
You know what? I think so too. Because it's like I was watching more of him, and then like it also helped that other people, other things on YouTube came out of the woodwork, and it's like, yeah, this is better. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but...
the best description I ever heard of Bill Maher, and it's accurate, even when I liked him and followed him more than I do now. Bill Maher is the left's Bill O'Reilly. That's exactly what he is.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so accurate.
I can't take credit for that, but every time I hear that, or every time I think of him or he pisses me off with something, I just think of that. Ever since Trump got elected, though, I feel he's been insufferable.
What was I saying? And how dare he say this about the year of the best highest grossing film of 2020, Bad Boys for Life? Like, come on, man. Like,
come on. And Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's Sonic the
Hedgehog. Oh boy, that's cue to move on. Whenever Sonic comes up, that's cue to move on. Good to be with you. It is Sleepless with Steve, and we are diving in now to the review of the show, Sound of Metal. And we got a lot to talk about with this one. If you're thinking about watching Sound of Metal, I suggest you play it loud on your TV and you turn off your phone. It actually would have been a great theater experience. This would have been an amazing movie to see on the big screen, engulfed in the sound, because the sound design in this movie is a character in and of itself. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Where I'll start with this, and there's a handful of places we can take this, but Riz Ahmed's performance is predicated on the art of restraint. His character of Ruben is on the brink of self-destruction. We fear he's a cigarette away from, or a failed sign language class away from returning to his old habits, as he's a drummer struggling with hearing loss, and then has to make a big decision of whether to continue living the gypsy lifestyle with his girlfriend, played by Olivia Cook, or go off to this halfway house sort of setting to learn how to live as a deaf individual. That camp host, or that halfway home run by a man named, or by a character named Joe, played by Paul Raci, who, fun fact, is fluent in American Sign Language too. I don't know if you guys read that. His parents, I believe his parents grew up through ESL. So that was
Steve, you're getting a little choppy there, but yeah, I noticed the character of Joan, like his sign language it's like too good for him to just be faking it, which, I guess that, any good actor could do that, but it felt, not that I know ASL, but like it just felt too genuine to me. So that was really cool to see. I'm glad that they picked someone, I guess he learned, or maybe he learned, I don't know, but it's really cool.
You could tell he was too fluent to just have learned it for the role. Where Riz Ahmed, though, he actually learned how to drum and he learned how to sign for this movie. And he spent hours working on it. And this makes this performance feel so lived in. I guess that's where we'll start with this discussion.
I had read that he did like a regimen of 2 hours of ASL, 2 hours of drumming, and 2 hours of working out for the physique. I'm like, Jesus Christ. That is, I mean, I guess this is his job, but like still, that's, let me start with just talking about Riz Ahmed here. Like, dude, this is to go from your character in Rogue One to this, and like, I'm sure a whole bunch of things in between. And like, that was probably his foot in the door or something. I don't know. Riz Ahmed was not on my radar at all. And dude, he is absolutely on my radar now because he is awesome. He makes this movie truly. And I'm really glad that, I'm really glad that he was in this role specifically, because I feel like with a lot of other maybe more mainstream actors or people I'm more familiar with, I wouldn't have been able to see past that for this particular film, but having, for me at least, having kind of a blank slate with him, it was really cool to see his acting at work, because he's acting his ass off here in so many ways. And like he's got those eyes, like I always said, like, I guess, you know, us, the brown eye gang, rise up. But you know, for us, it's hard to sell it in the eyes. But this Riz Ahmed proves it. Like, no, dude, eye color don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you got it, you can do it, and he freaking did it consistently here in all of his scenes. Even when he was like looking nervously over his shoulder, like to see if anyone was going to catch him using the computer, which, God damn it, those, I don't know why I got
tensed up during those moments too. I was like storming my chair, like, ooh. I mean, I know we're in a house full of deaf people, but like, and no one will hear him go up there, but still.
But I was just waiting for it's like, oh, he's right there. No. Anyway, yeah, dude, I'm going to start there, and then also mention that the direction that this film goes, I'm going to start by saying I did not enjoy, but I actually respect the hell out of, and I'm glad it did go the way that it did. Even if during and even a little bit after, I was like, I don't know if I enjoyed this, and I'm gonna pass it to Joe there to see if we fall in the same camp or not.
I'll start with the Riz stuff, because I'm gonna try to gauge what you meant by that as I'm talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Riz Ahmed, I mean, this is a guy to me, as you said, like, I saw him in Rogue One, but I knew him before then too. Nightcrawler was the first time I really got to see him, where he was acting alongside one of my favorite actors, Jake Gyllenhaal, and I thought, for a guy to like keep up with the pace of crazy ass Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm like, he did a really good job. The other thing I saw him in was the HBO show The Night Of, and he was very good in that as well. It wasn't, and then like, I've been meaning to see the Sisters Brothers, and I didn't get around to seeing that because unfortunately I saw the other movie that came out that year that he starred in, which was Venom, where he played the villain. And frankly, I was like, damn. I'm like, come on, man. I want you to get like a leading role that's way better than typical bad guy in a Sony Marvel movie, like anything but that. And here we are finally with The Sound of Metal, and I completely agree with Dom. He nails the fear of like losing one of your senses perfectly here. I mean, those first like 45 minutes where like it's going away, and Dom's absolutely right. His eyes are just selling it of just like he is scared. And you see it in his eyes. His eyes are like constantly darting around the room, like trying to like grasp of like, oh my God, what am I hearing? What the hell can I even like hear anymore? Like I'm looking at somebody, they're talking to me, I can't understand what they're saying. Like, man, I was like, the first 45 minutes, I'm like on the edge of my seat, like I'm watching an action thriller here. When really it's just a guy looking at a screen, waiting for somebody to talk to him by typing through the screen.
It's so terrifying. That let me say that the first 30 to 45 minutes of this movie is my favorite, just because it is horrifying. Yeah, genuinely horrifying.
It really is.
And, because it's something anyone can not relate to, but fear. Anyone can have that happen to them. And right.
And horror movies have been playing around with the idea of sound for a while now. We had Hush on Netflix. Which is about a deaf, like I think it's either somebody's being like a deaf person's being hunted down by a killer. But then we also have The Quiet Place, one of my favorite movies of that year, 2018, which I thought did a tremendous job playing with the idea of like you can't make a sound, and also had a deaf character in that movie as well. That like actually now doing it in a drama and still finding a creative way to implement sound. I don't. Hold on, Steve just sent a text. Let me just make sure. Yeah, Steve is not going to be back with us for a while, so it's probably just going to be Dom and I carrying it through here on out.
Screw you, Comcast internet should be a utility. Continue.
Anyways, like to see it now transcend into a drama, from horror to drama. It was like, wow, you guys. The director here, he knocked it out of the park. Let me get the director's name. Actually, I almost forgot.
Yeah. Darius Marder.
Thank you. I mean, for the first time, like, really doing this in a drama, as far as I know, he knocked it out of the park. It's weird that we got two movies this year, both dealing with the loss of something, and apparently both of them are just outstanding. I haven't seen The Father yet, but it's just, like, the fact that both of these are, like, dealing with a health issue, going deaf, or, like, having, Oh my God! When you forget your memory as you get older.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Or
Thank you.
dementia. Yeah.
Yeah, or dementia, whichever one it may be in the film. Once I actually see it, I'll actually know. But yeah, Riz Ahmed, man, he killed it here. Along with everybody else. Olivia Cooke is somebody that I've loved since I saw her in Thoroughbreds, and I've been wanting for her to be in more stuff like this because I think that's where she shines the best. Especially with that director who then went on to direct Bad Education. And even we talked about the guy who plays Joe. What was his name?
Paul Raci.
Paul Raci. He does a tremendous job here. We also have another person who is actually deaf in real life. She's
Lauren Ridloff.
Yes, she's actually she's going to be in an upcoming Marvel film, so good for her. Congratulations on that. But where I first saw her was in Walking Dead, where she was doing sign language. I'm like, oh, this must be a character from the comic. No, she can't talk in real life. And like it was like, wow, like I'm so happy to see her getting more roles because it's just like they wasted her in Walking Dead. Like, go figure, you get wasted in Walking Dead. To see her then go on to this and now a Marvel movie at the very least, it's like good for you. Like, and I'm hoping everybody in this film, because like everybody does an outstanding job here. I'm not saying everybody needs to get the Marvel contract, but it's just like this is such a great outlook for your performances because that's what carries this movie here is all these performances.
If more actors pipelines is start in Walking Dead, star in an Oscar-winning film, and then wind up in Marvel for that money, for that easy money, that's a good pipeline. That's good for actors. Yeah. SAG-AFTRA, get on that. Write that into your contract. Walking Dead, Oscar, Marvel.
Comics, drama, comics.
Exactly. Dude, there really isn't a weak link in this cast at all.
No, there really isn't.
And that's awesome. But really, Riz Ahmed is the standout.
People living in the house, they feel so natural. Like they actually they actually belong there. They are needed. And I love those scenes too because like at first, like I love the way this film and then we'll talk about the direction of what you meant like very soon too. But I love the way the film cuts from Riz Ahmed's point of view of what he's hearing to then what's happening outside world. One of the best moments in this movie for me is when like he starts finally opening up to the idea. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get my hearing back. Like I might as well just roll with this until further notice. And like he's getting along with everybody at dinner and they're doing sign language to one another. And it's like, it's quiet, it's peaceful, everybody's laughing. And then it cuts to like the real world sound and everybody's like smacking the table and like making hums and everything. Really cool. But like, it's like annoying you might think that might sound. It was like actually like so funny to, not like funny, like, you know, laughing at them, but like funny is just like.
The contrast was humorous.
Yeah. It was just like, oh my God. Like, but like they're having such a great time. It's like, I'm laughing about it with them.
And the way that delivers a sense of isolation, meanwhile all around you is life, even though they're deaf.
The fact that they're having a conversation like one-on-one with somebody, but like all around them you just hear like it's just like wow, that's really impressive.
It honestly just feels like Thanksgiving dinner minus any talking. Like, it's like if you just mute the dialogue track.
Which God, I wish
it's like in a video game. It's like in a video game when you mute the dialogue but the sound effects are still on. It's like that.
That's actually a good way to compare it.
Yeah, dude. Now, I don't know if we, you know what, I'm gonna wait. We're gonna wait for for the break and then and then we'll see if we can bring Steve back and then we'll talk about what I kind of meant about the direction and the director specifically. But I do want to highlight another aspect here, which is just we could talk about the sound design. If this movie does not win sound design, I don't know what the hell will.
Yeah, honestly, this to me like it did such. When Steve said this is a character in of itself, it's like it definitely is.
Yeah, well, 1,000%. And it didn't feel. I can see if people think it's gimmicky, but I thought it towed that line very effectively because I was like, oh no, is this movie just gonna be deaf for like the next hour and a half? But no, it's. I mean, they play it very well.
Yeah, the fact that you have a movie like, and this is bold to do anytime nowadays, but like, to me, it's like if you want to make a movie that's in black and white, bold move because people are probably gonna get bored just looking at it. But if you want to make a movie,
people will not watch it based on that alone.
Yeah, honestly, like I know tons of people who didn't watch Sin City because like, oh, it's black and white, it's an old movie. It's like, no, you dummy. But like the fact that you have a movie here that just has very little dialogue. I mean, there is about, I think, 25 minutes in this movie. There's not like a single sentence said. Maybe just a or ooh, and like, you know, like that's about it. That's all you're gonna get coming from a person. You're not gonna get any lines. It's sign language. You're reading subtitles. It almost becomes a silent hybrid movie of some sort at one point, and it's really cool. Like, the way it's done is very well done, and like we said, that the sound that they play with it during those moments of both his perspective and the real world itself, like outside of his point of view and what's happening, like if we were actually in this room with him, it's perfectly edited together.
Yeah, for sure. And just the cut, like just going back to the first act or first 30 minutes there, just the honestly, like I had never felt it more, at least in a while, but I never felt the editing be more of such an effective character in the first or at all than in the first 30 minutes. Is that when he's in denial, because there's a I think there is a very clear but very lopsided but very clear like 5 stages of grief in this movie. And I know there's the joke where it's like, oh yeah, every drama has 5 stages of grief in it. Yeah, whatever. But I think this one in particular, because it's such a character study, it's very plainly there, I believe. And the denial phase, the very first 30 minutes, is so I really can't. I could just devote the rest of the time talking about that. But just the cutting there, the editing, where it's like you need to save what's little you have left. Immediate hard cut to him in another show, more just slamming on those drums. I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. And and just the panic on his face and how it's pieced together. It's like the close-up angles when he's taking the test. Oh man, I love it. And unfortunately for me, at least, where it goes from there does not. I understand that, I don't know how you match that level of hypeness, right? And coming from the panic, but even just where it goes from there, I felt like was not as satisfying as those first 30 minutes. And you got about 20 minutes left here. So I think, Joe, now's a good time.
Let's do it.
Leave it off there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Sleepless with Steve.
Back. Thank you for joining us here on Sleepless without Steve.
Back and worse than ever because we are without Steve.
He was here, and then Comcast decided, like, hey, let's just have an outage, which I don't know what the weather. I mean, I guess it is raining. I'm looking outside right now. I can see it. So I guess a storm just came into LaSalle and just absolutely destroyed his internet, which sucked because if you're reading the bottom scroll, you know that he has a whole like thing he's supposed to give at the end of this. But Dom, can you reiterate what you were saying before we went to our intermission?
Yes. So we were kind of transitioning to talking about just the direction of the story. And kind of where the script goes. I wonder. By the way, actually, now that I think about it, I wonder what that screenplay looks like.
Right? Just like, and they're having dinner, but we need to film this for about like 3 minutes.
No joke, out of all the screenplays, because I'm actually starting to get into that now a little bit. I haven't had the patience to read a whole one through, but I'm kind of getting into that, and I think this one would be interesting. But anyway,
there's actually an article saying that you should read the screenplay for this because it is fascinating to read.
Nice.
I forgot which website wrote it, but there is an article out there saying that.
Yeah. So just transitioning to where the story is, and I'm glad you might hold an opposing view to this because I think Steve would have too. But in terms of where the story goes, it is funny that director Darius Marder or Marder, I don't know, his previous film, 7 years ago, was The Place Beyond the Pines. Did you ever watch The Place Beyond the Pines?
No, that's a movie I've been wanting to see though for the longest time.
Okay. The Place Beyond the Pines is a very interesting movie, and like Sound of Metal, it's a movie that I don't think I really enjoyed all that much, but I really respect the hell out of it for going in the direction that it did.
I've never seen The Place Beyond the Pines, but what I always hear is like the first 30 to 45 minutes is amazing, and then something happens, and then you're either with the rest of the movie or you're not. That's the main thing I hear.
It. I was with it, maybe not 100%, but I was like, oh shit, they really did do this. I don't know if we want to spoil a 11-year-old or 9-year-old.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it. Please don't. I'm eventually watching one day.
Damn it. Okay, but it's where that story goes. It's like you know what? No, I'm not. I'm gonna stop comparing it to Sound of Metal from there. But just overall, just where Place Beyond the Pines decided to go with its plot, I actually enjoyed. Watching it, maybe I don't know if I could watch it again, but I respected the hell out of it. I'm going back to those two words, and maybe it's kind of a nebulous meaning, but I kind of feel that same way about Sound of Metal because to me there was a seeming dip in the 60 to 70% way through, and no shit, of course, because you go from the panic and the metal drumming to he's in a deaf community and it's he's learning, and but it's how it goes from there. I was like, this almost felt a little stereotypical because I feel like I have seen that kind of movie before. Yes. Not 100%, and the ASL and the lack of communication was a unique twist on it, I think, but I don't know if it was enough for me overall. But I think it redeemed itself in the last act.
Okay,
I think it did. But Joe, you want to talk about that middle part?
I'm halfway agreeing with you, and I hate to use this comparison, but this is kind of like one of those movies where I pointed this out when we reviewed Coming to America, where it's a bunch of writers come in and they write the opening jokes for everything, the setup, but then when you get to the rest of the movie, they don't have jack to do. Sound of Metal kind of does that, and I get where Dom's coming from. I'm not completely there with him, but I get where he's coming from. Sure. Because the first 35 to 45 minutes of this movie, it's oh shit, man, this is insane. It's I can't imagine going through something like this. And that's what made the Riz Ahmed's performance so real to me, because it's just everything, how he's reacting is as how I imagine Ira reacts, spot on. Honestly, just freaking out, to the degree
I heard
he
from
goes.
I was reading some things. It's is he overreact? It's he's kind of overacting. I'm like, no. If you go deaf, if you've never experienced that before, and it's also music is literally his job. It's no, every emotion you feel is legitimate.
What I'm doing right now to you, the viewer at home, imagine that. Now
everything,
that's your life.
Not just voice, everything.
That's your life, and instead you. That's all you hear now, and then it gets worse from there, and eventually it'll just be silent, when we mute ourselves here on OBS. It's very much great, but I do see where Dom's coming from. There is a moment where it's him starting to open up to the idea of I need to learn sign language, and I need to I gotta talk to these people in some sort, otherwise I'm gonna go insane. I'm gonna lose my mind in here and either getting addicted to heroin or kill myself, because that's where Riz Ahmed's character was before.
Does he ever shoot up in the movie?
We don't see it. It's always talked about because
okay.
Olivia Cook calls somebody. He's hey, he's starting to smoke cigarettes, and I guess whenever he does that, he's completely stressed, and eventually that might lead to him shooting up heroin
Gotcha.
or like a gateway.
Oh, I'm
drug.
glad they didn't go Hillbilly Elegy, and it's like Amy Adams
Dude.
crying over a toilet. You know?
Yeah, no, it was like, please. I'm like, I've seen so many movies already. Like, it's weird to say this, but I've seen so many heroin addict movies these last few months. I could use.
I think a lot of people have, and they don't realize it. It's like a subgenre.
It really is. But yeah, when he starts to open up to the community and starts learning ASL and all that, it does kind of take a dip, because you go from this like consistent story of like, okay, so this happens, so now he's got to do this, and because he's here, he's got to do this, but his girlfriend needs to go do this, and then it's like it kind of just stops, and now you're just watching like a clip show of him going from place to place, going to this school, learning how to do ASL, going to these meetings to make sure he doesn't get addicted to heroin and everything, and then learning to be open with this community that he's living with for the time, this deaf community that he's living with for the time being. It just kind of cuts between all those, and I totally get where Dom's coming from, because to me, it did kind of take a dip there, but I liked it still, because to me, it's like, I think I know where this movie's gonna go, because this movie has a whole subplot where he can get his hearing back, but he needs to get like these implants into his brain that will basically cause like sensors to basically give him sound in some sort of way. And like, not to really spoil it, but like eventually we do get to that point. Like, this is Chekhov's gun. They're setting it up because they're gonna use it at some point. Like, come on, guys, this is an Oscar.
But where
film.
that goes was really interesting.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed it. And now let me specify. I do not mean to say that, you know, the moment he arrives on the farm and then, you know.
Oh no, I didn't take it that way. No.
Yeah. It's not like I was like, turn this movie off. No, I did enjoy not Joe Racy, but rather Paul Racy's performance as Joe. He was a really compelling character, and you know, kind of almost a stereotype in a way, but like I feel like I've seen it before. But honestly, it was just such an earnest performance, and the fact that he's nailing ASL, because he knows it, was like, okay, this is awesome. I'm enjoying that. And I wish we had actually gotten to know more members of the community, because his like even just smaller vignettes with more people, I think would have been better than some of the classroom scenes, because the scene where like he's talking with talking right, communicating with the lesbian member of the community, and he's like drawing a picture of a naked woman. Was like, I thought that was a really funny and awesome exchange.
Yeah, that was.
And then it shows up later. I was like, okay, that's cool.
That was a good payoff.
I wish we had gotten more of that, maybe, you know, gotten to know the community as opposed to like just them being really kind of background set dressing or whatever eventually.
But the thing is too, like that whole time, like where it's like him opening up, man, they speed through that so quick too. That's my only criticism with this movie, is like I'm glad it's a 2-hour film, it's in, it's out, but like the point that I think like would have shown like, you know, some really heartwarming scenes and everything, you speed through that so quick. We still get that, and we still, like, you know, it is very cool to see him open up and everything, but damn, it's like the next scene he's like a novice at like sign language. Then the next scene he's like teaching the class how to play drums and like communicating with them perfectly. It's like, whoa, hold on, like The Sound of Metal, like, wait, did I miss something?
He's playing like tag with kids, and I'm like, I feel like we just got here. Like, dude, he was smashing a donut in one scene, and then like, but
anyways,
playing with kids in the next.
The third act. I was gonna say, let's just get to the third act here, because
that's where it picked up again for me. Yeah. Not necessarily picked up, but it got really interesting. And I actually thought it would, you know, I'm not a very well-versed moviegoer or even just a lot of stories overall, but in my opinion, I thought what it did with the third act was actually super bold for me. I enjoyed it.
I'm going to say this to anybody who is deaf and like, or has a family member who's deaf, who's received these implants and they see it as a gift, like they are happy they got them, you know, hey man, good for you. The way they portray in this movie, I would rather be deaf. Like, dude, I'm sorry to say that. Like, if you love it and everything, hey, props to you. That's great. Like, I'm not in that point of view and everything. I'm not in your shoes. Maybe it's a whole different point of view. But it's like going from like the movie really wins you over. Like going, man, yeah, losing one of your senses is awful, but like trying to regain it when it's not coming back, like trying to do something that's like reaching for something that is not obtainable, isn't always the best idea. Like it really shows the horror that this man almost put himself through, possibly at the beginning of this film, where he like almost did that at the start, because like the sound design there is a whole different beast now, when it's like now you're dealing with like you're dealing with sound coming back now, but it's just not what you're used to. It is actually way more scarier to me than when it was gone. Because like you hear some sounds in this movie, you're like, "What the hell was that? Was that an ambulance truck or a person?"
Yeah, exactly. And it's just really bold. Where I think where the overall direction of that story and that character arc, because he is the story at this point, throughout the movie. But like where that character arc goes is really fascinating, because it's not a depressing ending. But dude, when they turn on the thing for the implant for the first time, it is like, and then where that scene goes and how it winds up, it's like, oh shit, they're going this direction. And when that washed over Riz Ahmed and his amazing eyes doing the acting for me, and then it washed over me, it's like, oh shit, this got awesome again for me, because screw those kids, I want to know how this plays out. Right. And how it does play out, it's awkward. It's like,
it's nerve-wracking at moments.
It's nerve-wracking. It is just, there's so much trepidation. There's so much tension. There's amazing tension. Like, I was almost like feeling like on a similar level as like a Tarantino movie, where right before a gunfight, but I'm like, no, he's just talking to his dad, and like we're waiting for the girlfriend to come home, and it's like, no, what's he gonna do next? Like, to me, it's like, that is so cool that you did this. And how this seemingly simple story of man goes deaf, how you're able to run the gamut of emotions, both in the first act, the middle act, but then the last, and then you bounce back with the last act with this whole new world, whole new direction, whole new problem, I thought was super cool. And is this nominated for screenwriting?
Let me check. Hold on.
Or for screenplay, I mean.
I know it's nominated for Best Picture. Let me see about nominations in general.
Yes, Best Original Screenplay. I think it absolutely deserves that. And in fact, what is competing with it? Because Trial of Chicago 7, I get that. That's almost too easy.
Is Minari on there?
Minari. Judah, I don't think Judah should win.
That's a stacked category, man. I remember looking at that, and it was even before I even saw this movie. I was like, that's pretty stacked. And now after seeing this movie, it's like, damn, all right.
If Sound of Metal wins screenplay, that's I would actually, that's like my, not that I'm good at reading a screenplay or anything, but to me that feels like Trial of Chicago 7 is the most obvious answer. Sound of Metal, I feel like, should be the winner there, because just the direction that it went.
Who will win what should win is what it really is.
And honestly, I think really getting back to it, I think my main problem is just kind of speed running like what you kind of saw coming with the middle act, but it feels like it didn't get earned. And then like the school scenes were like, okay, what's happening here? This feels like, I mean, it sucks because I felt like they were really, with Lauren Ridloff's character, I'm like, okay, cool. This is, it's like, are they going to go like a love thing or here? I'm glad they didn't.
I'm glad they didn't too, because it's just like, that would have been pretty cliche then.
Yeah, pretty cliche, pretty corny. But still, it felt like she was here and out in less than a couple minutes of screen time or whatever. And it's like, I wonder if this was even worth it at all. Maybe he should have just stayed on the farm the whole time. If we're talking about maybe, how to fix the movie or whatever. Not that it needs to be fixed maybe, but I'm just, just talking about that middle part. And that my one gripe is, is just that. Because really, again, I cannot emphasize how strong that beginning is and how interesting that end is. And that last act is so cool to me. So I guess we'll transition into final thoughts. I got to give this. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. It is. I'm going between like 3 and 3.5. I'm gonna give it 3.5 just because the fact that it did so many cool things with sound, and to me didn't feel like, or didn't. I can see it being gimmicky to some people, but for me it didn't feel that way. I was totally engrossed in it. And looking at the Best Picture category, out of all of them, I wish, this is the one I would have wished to have seen in the theaters on the sound alone, because it is so. I think it's really cool here, and as I was just talking about, the screenplay is super interesting to me. So yeah, Joe.
I'm gonna say this real quick because I had tons of people after I said I watched this movie. They were wondering, hey, how does this compare to Whiplash in terms of like a drummer movie? And I'm like, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is not a drummer movie. If you didn't get that with us talking about how much he's deaf and like does sign language stuff, like you're missing the whole point here. The drumming is like the first 10 minutes of this movie, and then after that, it's gone.
In their defense, that's like the face of the movie, though.
It is, yeah. It's on the poster and everything. Like it's the moment, like if you're wondering, like, well, why do they have that? It's the moment where it scares him the most. Is when he's performing, trying to perform while drumming, and just on his face, he's like, and we haven't used our F word, so screw it, I'm gonna use it here. Oh, dude, I'm fucked. I can't do this. Like, yeah. It's just like it's that moment of the movie that's on the posters that you see constantly. But outside of that, in terms of star rating, I'm also gonna go 3.5 out of 4 stars. And I was also bouncing between 3 and 4. I mean, not 3, 3.5, and then 3 stars. Yeah. I was bouncing between those two ratings, mostly because like I kind of did align with what Dom was saying. I just didn't feel heavily. I
think I was more down on it than you were.
But I did see where it was coming from. But what wins me over here is it's Riz Ahmed's performance, and of course, what they did with the sound in this movie, I think, is just amazing in and of itself. That it's just like, all right, in terms of production of the movie, it's like you gotta see it for that at the very least, and it'll get that half star alone for that. But yeah, man, Riz Ahmed, he killed it here. It's one of those movies that it's very hard to do this, but it perfectly puts you in a person's shoes, and it never feels like it breaks that immersion at all. Even when it breaks the immersion on purpose in the movie, where you go from his point of view of what he's hearing to the outside world. I never once felt like it broke me out of that. I was constantly like this throughout many scenes. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen next with this guy? Like, Jesus. It really does a good job at putting you in that position. So yes, 3.5 out of 4 stars.
All right.
I'm going to say like that's it, because it's like, this was supposed to be Steve's spotlight, like right here.
Should we plug not his Instagram, but the new Instagram? Should we reveal it on the show?
I'll save it for next week. Hopefully his connection's better next week. If we have this issue again, then I'll reveal it. But people, be on the lookout in LaSalle County for some free movies. That is all I will say. But yeah, thank you for tuning in to Sleepless with Steve. We're here every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm Joe Viso. This is Dominic Guanzon. Thank you for tuning in again, and we'll be back here next week, and hopefully I'll be here too to review Shin Godzilla. Take care.
Yes.
I just dropped the mouse. We're going to be here for a while. Hold on. There we go. All right, have a good night, everybody.